My husband is a sailor, often drifting at sea and only sending money home regularly. We have been married for 5 years and agreed to be child-free for life. After a 17-level typhoon hit at sea, I lost all contact with my husband. Colleagues said he was swept away and couldn't have survived. Devastated, I held a funeral for him. To take care of his sick mother and paralyzed father, I took on massive debt. It took me 5 years to pay off the debt, only to come home and see my supposedly dead husband with a beautiful woman and a chubby little boy. Now that you're back, you too should get a divorce. My mother-in-law, who I had cared for until she was full of energy again, spoke coldly. Looking at the scene before me, I suddenly felt exhausted. I took out my phone and dialed a number. Dad, I'm tired of playing. I want to come home and inherit the family business. Ding! webnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. You're back? Now that you're here, you too should get a divorce. My mother-in-law, whom I had cared for until she was full of energy again, sneered at me. I stood in the doorway, wide-eyed and dumbfounded, unable to process what I was seeing. Seth Bailey, who was supposed to be dead, looked at me with a smile he hadn't had time to retract. Beside him stood a delicate woman and a sturdy little boy. The air suddenly became still. I was holding a cake to celebrate paying off my debt, which seemed completely out of place with the happy family scene before me. All my excitement froze, and my instinctive joy at seeing Seth was shattered by my mother-in-law's words. Who is she? I trembled, pointing at the woman beside Seth, looking at him in disbelief. Bad woman, don't point at mommy. Daddy, protect mommy. The little boy beside the woman slapped my hand away and ran to hug Seth's leg. So rude. How dare you point at my daughter-in-law? Let me introduce you. This is Seth's wife, Lexi Brown, and this is my biological grandson, Johnny Bailey. My mother-in-law's tone was very proud, emphasizing the words biological grandson. She's Seth's wife, so who am I? My mind exploded, blood rushing to my head, boiling with rage. All right, Seth, you were dead for 5 years, leaving me to take care of your parents, and now you tell me you're alive and have found a new wife and had a child? I grabbed Johnny's arm. Look at this kid, he's 4 years old, isn't he? Seth looked a bit embarrassed. Joyce, I had no choice. I was swept to an island by the typhoon, and Lexi saved me. I was very grateful to her. So you just slept with her? And had a child? I sneered, almost laughing out of anger at this absurd situation. I've already let you down, I can't let Lexi down too. Seth gazed affectionately at Lexi, who shyly returned his look. I laughed in fury and slapped Lexi across the face. Shameless woman. Always doing such lowly things to seduce other people's husbands. Lexi looked at me with venomous eyes, then changed to a pitiful expression when she looked up. I roared and pounced on Lexi, pulling her hair forcefully. Lexi silently shed tears, looking at Seth. Enough! Joyce Smith, you shrew. Have you had enough? Is it just because I love Lexi and not you? What are you making a scene for? Look at yourself now. What man would like you? Seth Bailey yanked me aside, shielding Lexi Brown behind him. His words stabbed into my heart like a sharp knife, causing a throbbing pain. I suddenly stood frozen in place. The way I look now. I stared blankly at the mirror on the wall. The woman inside, despite her young age, had a few strands of white hair, wore shabby clothes, and had rough, cracked fingers. Standing next to the youthful and beautiful Lexi, she didn't even look like they were from the same generation. No wonder Seth's gaze towards me was so unfamiliar. But I used to be young and beautiful too. I felt a bit suffocated, and tears unknowingly fell. In the years I thought Seth was dead, I took on hundreds of thousands in debt to care for his sick mother and paralyzed father. When debt collectors came knocking, I was so scared I trembled, suppressing my sobs so they wouldn't hear me. For 5 years, I worked 3 jobs a day to pay off the debt, sleeping only 3 hours each night, and spent the rest of the time taking care of my in-laws. Because I had no money, I often went days eating only plain steamed buns, and when I fainted from malnutrition, I would silently get up and continue working. Every day was exhausting, but my motivation to persevere was Seth. I wanted to help Seth keep his home, so he wouldn't be lost even on the Day of the Dead. Seth once said, "As long as you, the people I cherish most, are at home, I can sail forward without hesitation." So, though tired, I felt fulfilled. But now I realize, he has indeed sailed forward, finding another wife far away. Now he tells me he doesn't need me anymore. Haha, Seth Bailey, do you know I was young once? Do you know why I am like this now? Do you know what I have been through these years? My heart ached as if squeezed tightly, and looking at everything before me, I suddenly felt so ridiculous. It turns out all my efforts were unnecessary to him. Seth coldly interrupted my words. "Enough, Joyce Smith. Mom has told me, even though you didn't take good care of Dad and Mom, you still worked hard. As long as you agree to the divorce, I'll give you $500,000 as compensation." Like a high-handed charity, I looked at Seth, with a big gold chain around his neck, and suddenly felt a bit unfamiliar. Mom has told him? Told him what? I recalled blankly. Oh right, in her eyes, I must be an outright bad woman. At Seth's funeral, his mother was so grief-stricken that she fainted on the spot. I was worriedly watching over his bedridden father, ready to help him breathe at any moment, while also taking care of his mother, fearing something might happen to her. The doctor said that both of Seth's parents were already in poor health. And with Seth's sudden death, they couldn't accept it and their old illnesses had relapsed. Without prompt treatment, it was likely that the whole Bailey family would soon be reunited underground. I couldn't bear to see Seth just pass away while his parents followed shortly after. But the money I had wasn't enough, and I was so worried every day that my hair started falling out. Seth's mother refused treatment and insisted on joining Seth, hitting and kicking me every day. I assumed she was just in a bad mood because her son had just died, so I silently endured it. However, her refusal to eat made me very anxious, and the scars on my arm were from when she knocked over the chicken soup and scalded me. In desperation, I told her, "Mom, no one is forcing you to eat, but I will take all the money your son left behind." She was shocked and scrutinized me. "You despicable woman, finally showing your true colors. You're just after the money. Why wasn't it you who died?" My heart felt bitter, but I comforted myself, thinking she was just sad about her son's death and not really targeting me. After that, I also sent Seth's father to the hospital and ran back and forth between them. To get them to cooperate with the treatment, I harshly told them, "If you don't use your son's money for treatment, I'll take it and spend it on another man. If you don't want me to spend the money elsewhere, you'd better listen to me." I took out loans to pay for their treatment, and they actually believed it was money Seth had left for them, spending it without hesitation. I had to play the villain. "Mom, you've already bought 10 bottles of toner. If you buy another one, I'll run away with the money. Dad, what do you need this electric scooter for? You can't even ride it. Be good and don't buy it." Since Seth died, I had become a villain in his parents' eyes. They didn't hesitate to curse me when chatting with the neighbors. I felt a pang of sorrow, but for Seth, I thought it was worth it. Before we got married, Seth told me, "Joyce is the most precious treasure in the world. As long as I have Joyce, I'm happy every day." During the premarital checkup, I found out that Seth had azoospermia. However, I only cared about Seth as a person and didn't mind whether we had children or not. Knowing that Seth was a very proud person, I kept this a secret and just agreed with him to be child-free. Seth's face looked a bit grim, but he still agreed to my proposal. My in-laws were feudal and rigid, so in front of them, I took the initiative to say that it was my choice not to have children, drawing most of the criticism. I once believed that as long as I was sincere enough, I could change my in-laws' opinion of me. So, I turned a blind eye to my in-laws' prejudice. But now I realize, they are just ungrateful wolves. "Seth, isn't it inappropriate to give her so much money? She's spent plenty of your money over the years. I think $100,000 is enough." My mother-in-law adjusted the mirror, very pleased with her newly embedded gold tooth. Lexi Brown sat beside my mother-in-law, gently chiming in, while my father-in-law slumped in his wheelchair but couldn't help teasing a young boy. They really looked like a family. For 5 years, I endured humiliation for Seth. In the end, was it only worth $100,000? Ha, how pathetic, how laughable. I watched the farce in front of me, a lump in my throat, feeling that my years of effort were worthless. And I felt ridiculous for being so blind. Seth Bailey, I have one last question for you. Why didn't you come home all these years? Even a phone call would have been enough. I clutched my chest, forcing myself to calm down a bit. My phone was swept away by a typhoon, and I couldn't remember the home number. Besides, Lexi was pregnant, and her father intended to hand over the business to me. I really couldn't leave. Seth looked guilty and didn't dare to meet my eyes. Besides, didn't I come back with money? I'm sure Mom and Dad won't blame me. Right, Mom? Of course, who is more filial than my son? Look at the wonderful daughter-in-law he found for me. My mother-in-law hugged Lexi, beaming, and then looked at me with disdain. Lexi is so much better than this hen that can't lay eggs. Barely calm, I suddenly felt a surge of anger, glaring at Johnny Bailey's face, which looked nothing like Seth Bailey's. Johnny started crying loudly out of fear. My mother-in-law immediately reacted, picking up her cane and aiming to hit me. How can you scare the child? You're jealous because you can't have one, right? I grabbed the cane with such force that my mother-in-law stumbled and almost fell. She didn't expect me to fight back and stared at me in shock. After all, these 5 years, apart from financial constraints, I never fought back or talked back. You shrewd dare to fight back? Now that my son is here, do you still dare to bully me? My mother-in-law sat on the ground, shouting at the top of her lungs. Misfortune has befallen this family. Marrying such a jinx. Not only did she take my son's money when he was missing, now she dares to hit the elderly. My father-in-law's face was red with anger, trembling and unable to speak, as if I were his mortal enemy. Watching this scene, I suddenly realized something and snapped back to reality, laughing foolishly. Haha, what a perfect match of the scumbag and the homewrecker. I concede defeat. Seth Bailey, I agree to the divorce. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau in a month. I threw the cake in my hand at Seth, smearing his face with cream. Consider this an early celebration of your family reunion. Then I quickly left, not wanting to be disgusted by the scene any longer. After calming down, I suddenly felt a bit tired. After thinking for a few seconds, I dialed the phone. Dad, I'm tired of playing. I want to go home and inherit the family business. A month later, I drove a Lamborghini to the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the fluorescent green car body bright and conspicuous. My dad is a billionaire. He is the founder of Smith Group, which ranks among the top 50 in the world. And I am his only daughter. When I was young, I was rebellious and tired of a life that was planned out for me. So my dad and I made a deal that I would come back to inherit the family business by the time I turned 35. In the meantime, he couldn't interfere with my life in any way, including my marriage. I also couldn't reveal my true identity. Unless I gave in and went to him first. After that, I would have to follow all his arrangements. Before I married Seth Bailey, he curiously asked me, "What do your parents do? Why have I never seen them?" I simply replied, "My parents passed away when I was young." At that time, Seth held me tenderly and told me that from now on, he was my family. But now, he doesn't want me anymore. I clenched my fists in anger, unwillingness filling my heart. There are still 2 years until I turn 35, but I don't want to wait any longer. I had planned to tell Seth my true identity when I turned 35, bring him home to inherit the family business together, and live a life without worries. But now I just want those 2 cheaters to regret it and get the punishment they deserve. A month ago, I called my dad. Oh. My little Princess Joyce finally remembers her dad? Hearing my dad's warm and cheerful voice, I couldn't help but cry. Oh dear, what's wrong? Did someone bully you? Who dares to bully my Joyce? I'll deal with them. My dad anxiously comforted me. Only then did I remember that I was not just a housewife to be trampled on. I am the princess my dad holds dear to his heart. I once naively believed that sincerity could always be reciprocated, offering my heart to my in-laws, only for them to smash it to the ground. I thought Seth would cherish this heart, but he stomped on it as well. My heart shattered into pieces, the pain unbearable. During that time of betrayal, I even forgot who I was. I took off the simple wedding ring on my hand and threw it into the wind. I'll consider the Seth who cherished me dead in that storm. The current Seth Bailey is just a jerk who betrayed me. I will make him and his whole family pay the price. With this thought, I wiped away my tears. No need, Dad. I will handle it myself and make them pay the price they deserve. Once I'm done here, I'll come home. But Dad, do me a small favor first. Ask your assistant to send over a Lamborghini, any model will do. Just make sure it's green. Wow. Mom, this car is so cool, I want one too. I didn't expect that just for a divorce, Seth's entire family of 5 would show up. Even his father was pushed out to join the fun. Seth's son, Johnny, stared at the Lamborghini with wide eyes, wanting to get closer and touch it. Johnny, when we get home, Dad will buy you a toy car to play with, okay? Let's handle the important stuff first. This past month, besides going through a crazy makeover and fitness regime, I also investigated what Seth had been up to these past 5 years. After leaving the small island, Seth went abroad with Lexi Brown. Lexi's family is in the overseas trade business, and they've made some money over the years, with their company reaching a certain scale. But it's nothing compared to my father's company. Seth worked with the Browns for a few years and made a modest name for himself. The big gold chain around his neck is a result of these years' work. Lexi grew up abroad and has a very open mind. Her parents were busy with their business and didn't have time to manage her, so she often attended social parties and slept with men she fancied. Coincidentally, Lexi got pregnant from her escapades and, not daring to let her parents know, rushed to find a father for the child in her belly, setting her sights on the handsome Seth. They say they have a lot in common, but in reality, Seth was just after the Brown family's money. Seth grew up under the oppressive education of his parents, always wanting to prove himself, so he kept looking for ways. He was determined to earn more money to make his parents look at him differently. I once told him not to worry about money, to do what he loves, and the money would come eventually. But he obviously didn't believe me. He married Lexi and had a child, so the Brown family's company and assets would eventually belong to his son. Both had their secrets, and they hit it off perfectly. It remains to be seen whether they'll stay this harmonious when their secrets come to light. I watched Johnny pestering Seth to buy him a car, and the corners of my mouth lifted slightly. Where's Joyce Smith? Could it be she regrets only asking for $500,000 after seeing you have money and doesn't want the divorce anymore? Lexi, sweating under the sun, was getting a bit impatient. How could that be? Our Bailey family only recognizes you as our daughter-in-law, Lexi. That useless woman who can't even have a child, giving her money is already elevating her. My mother-in-law cursed loudly in the street, and Seth felt a bit embarrassed. Mom, the child is here, don't curse. I'll call Joyce and ask her. The melodious ringtone echoed in the car as I put on my sunglasses and opened the car door. After a month of careful care, my already good skin became as smooth as silk again, glowing with a healthy blush under the sunlight. Wearing a valuable red dress and stepping into 8-centimeter high heels, I immediately attracted everyone's attention as soon as I appeared. I saw a flash of amazement in Seth's eyes. It's a bit of a pity that I didn't let this family bask in the sun a little longer. No need, I'm already here. I pulled Johnny away from the front of the car. By the way, watch your kid. If this car gets scratched, it's going to cost you a lot. Johnny started wailing in the street, and my mother-in-law immediately reached out to hit me. Well, you, a woman who was dumped by a man, dared to touch my grandson. A single hair on my grandson's head is more important than you. I grabbed my mother-in-law's hand, looked her in the eye, and spoke each word clearly. First, it's the 21st century now, there's no such thing as being dumped, only divorce. Second, there are surveillance cameras all over the street, and there's a dash cam in the car. If you dare to hit me, today won't just be about a divorce. Or are you planning to provoke me? If I get angry, I won't be in the mood to get a divorce. Who knows when I'll agree next time? I had a faint smile on my lips. You think I'm a bad woman? Then I'll show you what a real bad woman looks like. You. My mother-in-law pulled her hand back, about to point at my nose, but then thought of what I said and put her hand down. Joyce, where did you get the Lamborghini? Did you cheat on me before the divorce and hook up with some rich guy? My mother-in-law fell silent, but Seth started yelling. I laughed coldly and said sarcastically, Seth, don't think everyone is as filthy as you. Besides, didn't you say no man would like me the way I am now? And stop calling me Joyce, it disgusts me. Seth's face turned green. Joyce Smith, I understand you're upset. After all, Seth loves me, not you. I get that you're unbalanced. But do you really need to rent a car just to show off after the divorce? You're even corrupting my son. Lexi Brown, seeing Seth's attention drawn to me again, panicked, coaxed Johnny, and glared at me discontentedly. Haha, look at this family. They're so ridiculous. They're jealous of my car and even twist the facts, claiming I rented the car out of jealousy. The crowd watching grew larger, and I knew it was time to drop the bomb. But Seth, there's one thing you got right. I smiled maliciously and said loudly enough for everyone to hear. Your head is indeed very green, just like my Lamborghini. The crowd erupted, pointing fingers at Seth. You care about your reputation, don't you? Then I'll crush it right in front of everyone. I felt a bit more at ease and saw Lexi's face turn pale. What do you mean? Joyce Smith, explain yourself. Seth strode towards me. I got back into the car, looking at him mockingly, knowing that today's mess probably meant the divorce wouldn't go through. But that's okay, there's no way I'd let them achieve their goals so easily. Seth Bailey, I suggest you both get a marriage checkup. I pointed at Seth, then at Lexi, looking at them meaningfully, unable to suppress my smile. After saying that, I started the car and drove away. I had my dad's assistant keep an eye on the Bailey family's movements and gather evidence of Seth and Lexi living together as a married couple. Someone as proud as Seth would never go out with a child and say it's his mistress and illegitimate child, right? Lexi wouldn't want that either. I need evidence of Seth committing bigamy to threaten him. Seth Bailey, I'll make your family cough up all the money that belonged to me that you spent. I sat at the table, tapping my fingers lightly on the surface. This was a large flat I bought specifically across from Seth's house, from where I could clearly see everything happening inside his home through the window. The seller didn't want to part with this house at first, but after I tripled the market price, he agreed. Is this the power of money? I was pleased with my new identity. The assistant said that after meeting at the Civil Affairs office that day, Seth Bailey dragged Lexi Brown to the hospital for a checkup. Lexi was reluctant, hesitating. But Seth, being strong, forced her to go in. This is the person Seth said he couldn't let down, yet when it came to himself, he didn't hesitate to suspect her. What fragile feelings! I sneered as I looked at the window of Seth's house. Today was the day the checkup results would come out, and Seth rushed out early in the morning. When he returned, his face was ashen, and he slammed the report on the table, shouting at Lexi. He must have realized his problem by now, right? Back then, after getting the premarital checkup report, I told him everything was fine and casually crumpled the paper and threw it away. It wasn't until today that Seth found out he had azoospermia. My mother-in-law hurried over to check the report, her face turning pale as she stood frozen. Johnny Bailey stood in the corner, not daring to move. Lexi fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she frantically explained something. I sipped my coffee, feeling refreshed, and enjoyed the drama unfolding in the Bailey household, watching them go from a happy family to falling apart. My mother-in-law, shaking with anger, raised her hand and slapped Lexi hard across the face. Lexi glared at my mother-in-law, wanting to pounce on her, but after hearing something Seth said, she quieted down, enduring the beating with a vacant look in her eyes. Johnny, crying, jumped into Lexi's arms, and Seth couldn't help but kick him. Seeing Johnny get hit, Lexi screamed and lunged at Seth, biting him. I couldn't see what happened next as the curtains were drawn. But judging by the chaos, Lexi's life won't be easy from now on. Yet Lexi is not me. How long can she endure? I was eagerly waiting to see more drama when my phone rang. The call was actually from Seth Bailey. Joyce, I was wrong. I didn't know the child wasn't mine. When I was away, I was always thinking of you. I haven't forgotten you for a single day in these 5 years. I've sent her away. Can we live together happily again? Seth's voice was a bit tired, and it seemed I could faintly hear his mother cursing Lexi in the background. That's funny. You only think of me when you're not doing well? You say you've been thinking of me for 5 years, but if you really cared, why didn't you come back to see me? I retorted sharply. Joyce, how did you become like this? You used to be so gentle and considerate. You would never speak harshly to me. Seth accused me, sounding somewhat dejected. It was as if I had heard a joke, and my tone was full of sarcasm. Yes, I used to be gentle and considerate. And what was the result? To your whole family, my kindness was just seen as weakness to be exploited. Your call is just in time, Seth. Listen carefully. I've collected all the evidence of your bigamy. If you don't want to go to jail, you'd better pay me back all the money I've spent over the past 5 years, with interest. Seth on the other end of the line obviously hadn't processed this yet. But now that you're doing well, paying back this money should be a piece of cake, right? Let's meet at the Civil Affairs office in a month. I'll bring the compensation agreement. If you sign it, we'll get divorced. If you don't, be ready to be invited to the police station for a chat. Before Seth could answer, I heard the sound of a scuffle, and it seemed Lexi had grabbed the phone. Seth! You said you wouldn't let me down, and now you're calling Joyce Smith right in front of me. What do you mean by this? Lexi's voice was sharp and grating, completely devoid of her previous frailty. I seemed to hear Lexi receive a slap, and she cried out shrilly. You wretch, how dare you compare yourself to Joyce? If you hadn't deceived me, would I have separated from Joyce? It's all because of you, you vile woman. I had never heard Seth so angry and irrational before. It was quite surprising. Haha, if you weren't so greedy for my family's money, would you have been deceived by me? You just don't love her that much, you only love yourself. No. It's not like that, Joyce. I was just deceived. I do love you. Seth hastily grabbed the phone to explain. I sneered disdainfully. Late-arriving affection is cheaper than grass. Don't forget to come to the Civil Affairs office in a month. With that, I hung up the phone. A month later, I once again drove my green Lamborghini to the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. This time, my father-in-law didn't come along. I wondered if it was because he was so angry that he fell ill and couldn't get out of bed. Knock knock. The car window was tapped. I slowly rolled down the window and saw Seth's somewhat haggard face. Joyce, can we talk? I directly slapped a piece of paper onto Seth's face. For the past 5 years, I've been paying for your parents' medical treatments and their expenses, totaling $2.21 million. With interest, it's not much. Just give me $2.5 million. 2.5, a very auspicious number. Plus your divorce settlement, it totals $3 million. Transfer the money immediately, and I'll sign the contract and get the divorce certificate. Bank transfer or card swipe? I waved my phone in front of Seth. 2.5 million? Are you trying to extort me? My mother-in-law immediately rushed over and grabbed my car window. I spent my son's money. Why should my son pay you back? I pried her fingers off one by one. Ma'am, you wouldn't want to damage my car and have to pay for that too, would you? As for spending your son's money, do you really think he could earn that much? I raised an eyebrow, and my mother-in-law's face turned red with anger. Not to be rude, but you're alive today because of me. You should be kneeling and thanking me since I'm your savior. I glanced provocatively at my mother-in-law, not really expecting her to kneel. But it was satisfying to anger her. Even if we spent some of your money, how could it be over $2 million? My mother-in-law sounded a bit guilty. Then you should take a look at the luxury skincare products on your table and the crocodile skin bags in your closet. Not to mention the top-of-the-line mountain bikes your husband bought. Do you want to see the receipts? My tone was mocking as I looked at her. You spent money like water back then, and now you know how to feel heartache? How about the heartache I felt back then? I had to keep begging my in-laws to stay alive and spend more money, all the while my heart was bleeding. How come they never saw my pain and grievances back then? You're just making excuses. Seth, don't listen to her. If you don't sign, I don't believe she can do anything to you. She's just extorting money. My mother-in-law, unable to out-argue me, was about to throw a tantrum on the ground. I cut her off directly. Not signing is fine. I'll sue your son for bigamy, and then he can spend 2 years in prison. What? Crime? Seth. My mother-in-law was so frightened that she clutched her chest and collapsed to the ground, unable to speak for a moment. Lexi stepped forward to help her, but she was pushed away. You're a wretch, too. All of you are spiteful women. Get lost. Lexi stood there awkwardly, not knowing what to do. Seth looked at me in pain. Joyce, do we really have to come to this? I seemed to hear something amusing and looked at Seth in surprise. Isn't this all your own doing? Just tell me if you're signing or not. I impatiently handed the contract to Seth. I can't come up with that much money all at once. Fine, I'll give you 3 years. Pay $1 million a year. Agree, and I'll have the lawyer draft a new contract. Seeing my firm attitude, Seth reluctantly nodded. He looked at me with a heartbroken expression, as if I were the unfaithful one. What a joke. He was the one who wronged me, yet now he made it seem like I was the villain. I had my assistant draft a new contract and send it over. After Seth signed it, we got the divorce certificate. As I was about to drive away, Johnny ran over with a small pair of scissors, scratching my car. It's you who bullied my mom. It's you who made Dad not want me. You're a bad woman. I'm going to destroy your car. Lexi quickly rushed over to pull Johnny away, but he accidentally scratched her arm. Blood dripped onto the ground. Lexi looked at the blood on the ground, then at the hateful expression on my mother-in-law's face, and started crying while holding Johnny. I regret it, Mom and Dad, I want to go home. Seth glared at her with a livid face. Shut up. You are embarrassing us. And as I looked at the new scratches on my car, my face turned black with anger. Great, now there's another repair bill. Pay me now. Immediately. After receiving a considerable car repair fee, I drove home with my assistant. The place where I had lived for more than 10 years since I was a child. After returning, my father asked me to gradually take over the company. With the help of my assistant, I slowly gained a firm foothold in the company. A year later, the company launched a major project and needed to find several foreign trade companies to cooperate with. After multiple rounds of selection, only 3 suitable ones were left in my hands. I met with the heads of these companies at the office, and unexpectedly saw Seth again. Even though he was well-groomed, he still looked tired, no longer the energetic person he once was. Indeed, for someone like Seth, raising someone else's child must have been quite distressing. Seth looked at me with disbelief and a hint of embarrassment. Joyce Smith? What are you doing here? After a year of transformation, I was no longer the overworked woman with gray hair. Now, what he saw was the new president of Smith Group. This is our new president, Ms. Smith. My assistant kindly explained after seeing Seth's shocked expression. You are the daughter of Smith Group's founder, the new president, Ms. Smith? Seth looked at me incredulously, with a hint of regret in his eyes. I raised my eyebrows and looked at him. Let's hear your proposal. Hello, Ms. Smith, I am Seth Bailey from the Brown Group, regarding this project. Seth, after all, had been through the ups and downs of society, quickly hid his emotions, and began to introduce the proposal with a humble attitude. I absent-mindedly looked out the window, appearing drowsy. About an hour later. Finished? Then you can leave now. I waved my hand dismissively. Ms. Smith, don't you have anything else to say? Seth looked surprised. It was clear that he had prepared for a long time for this project and was determined to win it. He wanted to turn his fortunes around with this major project. From the project's perspective, his proposal was actually quite good. But, well, who told him to annoy me? Say what? That I don't like you? That I don't want to cooperate with you? Joyce Smith. You are the president of a company now. How can you be so childish? Rejecting all of someone's efforts just based on personal preference? Besides, you didn't tell me your identity back then. If you had told me earlier, would I have divorced you? Seth finally couldn't hold back, his eyes red as he glared at me, shouting unwillingly. As if not divorcing was some great favor. I burst out laughing. You really got a good deal and still act so righteous. Didn't I tell you? Right after we got married, I told you that I would reveal a secret to you in a few years. That you didn't need to worry about financial issues and just do what you liked. But you didn't believe me. Seth, like a drenched chicken, suddenly lost his fire. Security! Someone is causing trouble. Take him out. I turned around impatiently and left, no longer looking at Seth's expression. After that, I never saw Seth again, nor did I deliberately seek out news about him. It seemed like I was slowly coming out of my past resentment and bitterness. But then one day, while chatting with a few project partners in France, I heard news about Seth again. Wow, you wouldn't believe it, the president of the Brown Group turned gray overnight. But this whole thing is just so bizarre. That rich young lady from the Brown family was so wild in private. And who knows what Lexi Brown went through. She hated her mother-in-law so much that she turned off her breathing machine. Seth Bailey must have gone crazy when he found out, right? So she stabbed Seth Bailey to death and then took her own life. Listening to their discussion, I roughly pieced together the truth. Seth's father passed away a year ago, and his mother, devastated and already in poor health, collapsed and was hospitalized, barely hanging on with the help of a ventilator. The job of taking care of his mother fell to Lexi Brown, but unlike the obedient person I used to be, Lexi finally exploded under his mother's physical abuse and turned off her oxygen machine. Seth's mother died that day. It's said that before she died, she weakly glared at Lexi and muttered, "You wretch, seducing my son. If it weren't for you, my daughter-in-law would still be Joyce." Seth checked the surveillance and discovered what Lexi had done. He was furious and wanted to kill her, vowing to beat Lexi to death. Lexi, unable to fight back, hurriedly picked up a fruit knife from the table and stabbed Seth 32 times. Previously, Lexi had made an agreement with Seth, who wanted the Brown Group's money, to continue pretending to be a good couple in public so her parents wouldn't find out about her wild behavior. Johnny Bailey was treated as Seth Bailey's own son. Now that Seth was dead and she had committed murder, Lexi thought it was better to die than spend her life in prison. So she took her own life too. Only Johnny Bailey was taken back by Lexi's parents, not even knowing who his real father was. Knowing all this, I felt no waves in my heart. This time, Seth was truly dead, not just faking it. But since Seth had already paid back the money he owed me, his death was just his end. As for me, I received a call from my dad and embarked on the journey home. Today was the 100th blind date my dad had arranged for me. I wondered whether this time it would be a rich, handsome CEO or just a pretty young man. I secretly thought about how to reject him. After what had happened before, I wasn't really looking forward to love. The car stopped, and my assistant and I entered the estate. "Dad, where's the person you arranged for me to meet? Could it be that he's even slower than me?" That's not very gentlemanly. I started picking holes before even seeing the person. "Isn't he right next to you?" My dad said with a sly smile, looking at my assistant, who was 6 feet tall with an 8-pack and had been taking care of me for 3 years. I stared at him in shock. "So it turns out you were my dad's undercover agent from the beginning, and I trusted you so much." "My dear queen," the assistant somehow produced a rose. "Will you allow me to take care of you forever?" I looked him up and down. It didn't seem like a bad idea. This guy had indeed grown on me over the past 3 years, otherwise, I wouldn't have kept him around. I was a bit moved but had to maintain some dignity. "Well, it's not impossible. Let's try it out for 6 months first. If we're both satisfied after that, we can talk about making it official." I suppressed a smile, cleared my throat, and said seriously, "All right, then I'll sign a probationary contract first." With that, he lowered his head and kissed my forehead. And I was about to step into a new life.